Hey, thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Kevin Kreuter, and with me today I have Katherine Loans, and we are both with Youth for Christ, Indian River County, and we're so grateful for you tuning in for this August update. I know that so many of you have really stepped up to the plate and helped us to get kids to camp this summer, and we're excited to be able to share with you the results from our high school and middle school camp, as well as to share just some of the stories of what God did in the lives of young people. So, Katherine, what are we celebrating when it comes to how God worked at camp this summer?
Yeah, so a lot of different things. It was really cool I was privileged to be at both camps and to really just see God work in so many miraculous ways. So high school camp, we had 3 kids who committed their lives to Christ for the first time and 4 who recommitted. And then middle school camp, we had 6 who committed their lives to Christ for the first time. And I don't even know the number for recommitments because it was so large. It was the vast majority. And then a couple kids who said that they weren't ready yet. And I also think that that's worth noting and celebrating in a way, because it means that kids understand what we're asking them. And they understand the gospel because we've explained it clearly enough to them. So anyway, both camps were an absolutely incredible experience. But besides the numbers too, you get to see specific stories of kids that you've been walking alongside for a while. I have this one high school student that I'm close with who's named Peyton, and she finally gave her life to Christ this year at high school camp. And I've been walking alongside her for about a year now, just meeting with her very regularly. But beyond that, I've been to camp with her for the last 3 years before this summer. And I've just been able to see her grow slowly, progressively. And this year especially, she got to a point where she believed in God, but she didn't want to commit to that relationship yet. She wasn't confident in God's love for her. And high school camp this summer really changed that. I just remember her expressing that she recognized that God loves her, even if nobody else does, and just realized the depth of that, and that's what drew her to really beginning a relationship with God, which was such a cool moment to experience with her.
Yeah. Oh, well, first of all, just thank you for the time you invested in Peyton, and I know that had to be such a blessing for you to walk with her through her committing her life to Christ, especially after so long. And I have some stories from high school camp too, but before we do, I just want to underscore just that important point. And I think that that's one of the keys to how we approach ministry to young people is, it's not just throw a gospel presentation out there and hope that it takes, but it is a long-term commitment of walking with students through this journey of them wrestling with the truth of the gospel in light of everything that they've come to believe and know and understand, and to see the truth of it. And God is working in this process. And so what a beautiful thing to be able to celebrate that with not just Peyton, but the several students.
So many others.
Yeah. For the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to go to middle school camp, but have yet to go to high school camp until this past summer. And while there's lots of stories that I could share, the one I think that stands out the most is we have so many kids that came that were unchurched. They're not from Christian families. Some of them have never been to church. And so as the speaker was talking on one particular evening, he was using a lot of terms that would be familiar to Christians but weren't familiar to these kids who didn't grow up in the church. And so we had our group time following that time, and it became apparent that the kids really didn't understand some of the concepts that were shared. And so we stopped what we were doing and just encouraged them to ask any questions that they had. And I remember one of our students, you could tell he wanted to ask something but didn't, and so we just started encouraging him. And he said, all right, I got one. It's a stupid question. And we're like, there are no stupid questions. And he finally bolstered the courage to ask his question. And it was something that most Christians would think would be very simple, but for him, it was very confusing. And so we got to address it. And then he quickly had another question and another question and another question. And I remember the moment he paused, a little embarrassed, because he realized he's the only one asking questions because he's so eager to get the answers to his questions. And that just created such a sweet time. And I think that walls started to come down because kids that perhaps were just like, I'm just staying on the margins because I don't know what's going on. This isn't for me. All of a sudden, they were included into that space. And we saw God quickly at work in the days to follow. And so it was just such a wonderful moment at camp.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then just to share a little bit about middle school camp as well. It is such a blessing, I think, to be able to go to middle school camp. Like, I just love everything about middle school camp, so I'm a little bit biased. But to see kids, I had a cabin full of girls this summer who had never been to camp before, which is like so sweet and special in a way to watch them experience this YFC camp for the first time. So that was a big highlight for me, just watching them like have so much fun and enjoy themselves and learn so much in our small group time. Just getting to hear like their takeaways progress throughout the week. We had they were pretty young too, as far as middle school goes. So just watching them like get a little bit more serious and a little bit more deep and a little bit more trusting with one another as the week went on was really special. And then I got to hear just so many different accounts of kids growing closer to one another and kids starting to understand the gospel and starting to understand God's love for them just from all of my other leaders who were there in different cabins with our Indian River students. So it's such a special week. Yeah.
That's so great. And we just want to thank you so much. So many of you prayed for camp. So many of you really stood in the gap and financially supported kids who desperately needed scholarships, kids who literally would not have been able to go to camp if not for those scholarships. And Katherine, it seems to me there was a lot more need for scholarships this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really easy to say that and just to kind of like be like, oh yeah, you like scholarships. Like the vast majority, especially at the club that I'm at for middle school, not a single kid went without a scholarship.
Yeah.
Like that is such a huge need, and it was provided for so well this year, and it was truly needed this year because we had a lot of kids who wanted to go. I think that people don't understand how few kids can actually afford to go to camp on their own. Like it is so few. So
It's true.
Truly, thank you.
Yeah. It could not have happened without you. And we think about, God at work at camp, but God was at work through you and other generous partners who made it possible. And so thank you so much for doing that. And these stories that we celebrate about how God has worked in the lives of these young people, you were a part of that ministry just as much as any leader who went, any speaker who spoke. And so thank you for being a part of this ministry to young people. So, man, I'm going to cry on video. That's terrible. All right. I got it. We are right now we're celebrating something else that just took place literally just a couple days ago. This was our 12th annual United Prayer event.
I didn't know it was our 12th.
It was our 12th, yes. And what a special time that was. We lost count. We had somewhere between 140 and 150 people present, which was a record for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It was such a blessing to see so many people from the body of Christ there on a high school campus 2 days before school started, praying for students and teachers and administrators and local government that makes decisions regarding our schools, and just committing those schools and everybody who crosses through those campuses to the Lord for this school year. Yeah. So can I ask you, Katherine, what were some of the highlights for you?
Yeah, I think that the nature of the prayer event, which you explained well, it's just so cool to me, of like the fact that we get to be on a school campus before school even starts, praying for those kids and praying for those teachers and everybody involved. I just think it is such a blessing to be able to do that. Yeah, and turnout was amazing. The prayer event is always, I feel like each event of ours at Youth for Christ has like a different feel to it, and I don't know how to describe that, but I love the feel of the prayer event. It just feels so like everyone is so connected we're so unified in our reason for being there and really caring for the schools and really caring for the kids, and that just comes across so clearly in worship and in prayer, and that's kind of what strikes me every year at that event.
Yeah. Well, our faculty sponsor is an administrator for Vero Beach High School. At least he has been for the last 2 years. And it's such an honor to me to see what this event means to him. I remember the first time the person who was our faculty sponsor retired, and he stepped into that role willingly. And when he saw what was happening and how genuinely people were praying for him and for his fellow administrators and teachers and the students, and he felt the deep love and concern that we all have for the schools and all that goes on there, I mean, it genuinely meant the world to him, and that blesses us to know that we can bless him and everybody else who invests in the lives of young people. And we want God to have his way on school campuses and in the lives of students and teachers and administrators. And I mean, that's what we're calling out for. And we're trusting him for an amazing year. And one of the ways God works throughout the year is through campus ministries. And we're privileged to be among them. Our Campus Life program is imminently launching.
That is how it feels, yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Katherine, share with us a little bit about what's going on now and what we're looking forward to here.
Yeah, so right now, for most of us, it kind of just looks like trying to get everything together
Yep.
for the year, or at least for the semester, before we get started. So planning curriculum, meeting with our volunteer teams, and praying and making sure that we're ready spiritually and as far as materials and supplies go. Kind of trying to coordinate with the schools, be there for orientations and club expos and all of those different things, promoting campus life before we begin. Our first club starts on the 17th, so that's Monday, which is very soon. And then most of our clubs start early September to mid-September. But yeah, it is coming up really soon, and that's very exciting, but it's also a lot of work right now.
Sure.
But that's kind of where we're at. Just preparation right now, preparation for every element of campus life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, we talked about, just the engagement, like in Peyton's story. We're there over the long haul. We're investing in kids. And, camp, as we've shared in the past, was one of those places where, God brings the fruit from the seeds planted, but those seeds are planted throughout the entire year at Campus Life. And share a little bit, if you don't mind, about just the relational ministry we do on campus and off campus through Campus Life.
Yeah, the relational ministry is kind of the whole point of Campus Life. I mean, we are there to lead students to Jesus and give them the opportunity to make that decision and to become a lifelong follower, but that doesn't happen without, it does happen sometimes, but it very rarely happens without building a trusting relationship with that student. It is so much easier to connect them to God's story and connect them to Christ when you are already sharing your story personally with them and you're hearing theirs, which is just kind of the whole point of 3 Story, which is our logo, but that's a different explanation. But building those relationships with students just week after week, showing up and being there for them and having conversation with them and listening to them is so crucial. Like, camp would not have these incredible results that it has if we didn't do Campus Life for the entire school year, if we didn't build those relationships and show up for kids and make memories with them, and really be an example of what it looks like to be a godly Christian and to really be following Christ for yourself. It's huge. It makes all the difference, I think.
Yeah. Well, as our Campus Life leaders, both our staff and our 40 volunteers, just go on our 7 ministry sites and engage with students, they need your prayers. Yeah. And so, Katherine, what are some of the ways that people could be praying for you and your leaders as you launch? Yeah,
I would say definitely be praying for those relationships, first and foremost, between students and leaders. We have a lot of relationships that already exist, whether they are built through camp or through Campus Life last year or just in previous events, whatever it is. We have a lot of existing relationships that we want to continue to grow, and sometimes this beginning of the year can be a hard position, after you've kind of lapsed that relationship for a while, potentially, because of the summer break. So just for those relationships to remain strong and keep growing, and also for the new ones that are going to be built between students that just don't have a relationship built with a leader yet or are brand new to Campus Life. So definitely prayers for those relationships because they are the most important part of Campus Life. also just be praying for, I think, our communication with schools. And there's always a hiccup at some point in the year with some school, no matter what it is, whether it's they have something going on that we didn't know about and campus life doesn't work this day or whatever it is. There's always some sort of disruption. So just prayers for us to work well with the schools, and just avoid those problems as much as we possibly can. And I'd also say be praying for Vero Beach Middle School as we are launching that club for the first time.
Yeah.
So brand new volunteer team, brand new campus life students, hopefully.
Yep.
We just have no idea what that's really going to look like yet. Really grateful for just the way that that school has opened itself up to us and wants us to be there on campus. That is so encouraging and is rare as well. So we're really appreciative of that, but also just for the leadership, and for students to be coming in and to be interested and for it to be promoted well throughout the school. Just all of the little details that go into making campus life possible and successful on a school campus. We're praying that for Vero Beach Middle School.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And thank you for bringing that up. That is definitely something we celebrate, is
Yeah.
God continuing to open doors so that more students have access to the gospel through relational ministry at Campus Life.
Yeah.
So, hey, we thank you so much for tuning in, and just want to encourage you, please be praying for those things that Katherine mentioned. Pray for our schools and our students, administrators, and faculty as the school year begins. We want to invite you to get involved if you're not already involved, or to get more involved, regardless of your engagement with us currently. And all the ways to do that can be found on our website. So first of all, if you would like to join our prayer team and get monthly updates that share specific things you can be praying for students and for the ministry in general, you can find that right on our website at yfcirc.com. So that's YFC for Youth for Christ, IRC for Indian River County.com. And you'll have an option to get involved, and you could choose pray, and all the information will be there. We also, as the new school year begins, and new club launches, and there's so many ways in which God is calling us to engage in ministry and to keep the ministry going, we continue to need financial partners to help keep all of this afloat. And you could give on our website as well if you would like to help support the ministry, either through a recurring gift or a one-time gift. And we appreciate your engagement. Again, just as with camp, it takes all of us. And God blesses and uses all of us for the ministry that he's called us to as he grows his kingdom and leads young people to faith in him. So thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for your engagement with us. God bless you.